Hey guys, I'm back. I'm very sorry that I have not been able to make a video in the past year. I have been very, very busy, but time flies, and I hope you guys have had a very good past year. And once again, I am very sorry that I have not been able to make a video in the past year, but I am hoping to make it up to you guys right now. So today we are going to be going over a few of my favorite books from my collection. I personally love reading. It is one of my favorite hobbies. I love a good book. And so today I'm going to introduce some of my favorite books and kind of give you a little bit of a summary slash review. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So the first book that we are going to start off with is one of my personal favorites, which is The House of Leaves. Now this book, here, let me move this real quick. Now this book is just an absolute superb book. It had twists, turns, it had me on the edge of my seat, wanting more. House of Leaves is by Mark C. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Danielewski. And this is the remastered full color edition. Now given this book, it is definitely a twister. It may look a little strange, and that's because it is. It is supposedly composed of letters and news articles, and it's about a house that is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And this book is, let's see, this book is a whopping 708 pages. I'll show you some of the odder pages that are definitely a little bit harder to read, but it just makes the book that much more enjoyable. Let me see if I can find one of my favorite pages. So you can see how it'll start off with all this text. And it can go from all this text to absolutely nothing. And then you can have pages that are upside down, which I personally find very just intriguing. The book was just so intriguing to me. Let me read the summary for you. Years ago, when House of Leaves was first being passed around, it was nothing more than a badly bundled heap of paper, parts of which would occasionally surface on the internet. No one could have anticipated the small but devoted following this terrifying story would soon command. Starting with an odd assortment of marginalized youth, musicians, tattoo artists, programmers, strippers, environmentalists, and adrenaline junkies. This book eventually made its way into the hands of older generations who not only found themselves in these strangely arranged pages, but also discovered a way back into the lives of their estranged children. Now, for the first time, this astonishing novel is made available in book form, complete with this original colored words, vertical footnotes, and newly as I said before, this book is absolutely superb. The writing is just fantastic, and it is such a twister. Just absolutely what a great book. Now, obviously, it's a little bit of a longer read, so you'd have to be devoted to it for a little bit, but I completely recommend it. So that was The House of Leaves. Next, we have a very good book. I love horror novels. One of my favorite horror novelists is Stephen King, and I love Stephen King's books. From 11/22/63, which was about a man who time traveled back to stop Kennedy's assassination, which is now a TV show on Hulu with James Franco, and that is just absolutely just a fantastic show. But we're going to be looking at his other novel, Mr. Mercedes. I believe it is a trilogy now. I have only had the privilege of reading the first book in the series, but I hope to read more. Obviously, with a lot of his books, you sort of have to have a stronger stomach. You can't have a weak stomach, because he does spread some graphic material. But I absolutely, the story had me engaged. I read this book, if I remember correctly. I read it over the summer, and there is nothing like sitting on a outside outside on a hot day. There's nothing like it. It is just fantastic. Another thing that I love about Stephen King's writing is the fact that the way he writes, it just encapsulates you, just makes you want to keep reading more, and I would absolutely recommend any of his books if you've never read them. Let's see. Another thing that a lot of his books are adapted into movies or television shows, and I personally am not a huge fan of the movies. I personally did not like it when that was adapted. My two favorite movies that were, adapted from books is got to be Stand By Me and 11/22/63, and those are both from Stephen King. His artwork, though, on all the books is just fantastic. A little bit of I believe I heard from someone this book. It was just such a good read. Anything that just makes you want to keep turning the page, I consider a winner. Okay. The next book, it may be considered a kid's book, but I love this book. I believe it was adapted into a movie just recently. I believe Tim Burton made it. This is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This book is just, it leaves me lost for words. It was so fantastic. The plot of it is pretty much a boy goes to this island off of the coast of Wales because his grandfather, something happened to his grandfather, and he wanted to get to the bottom of it, and I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say too much, but it is fantastic. The pictures, the illustrations in the book are fantastic. The way it's presented and the way everything is said is just, it makes you want to keep reading. There is no plot, there's no book trailer for this one, unfortunately. But I will say I love the book and the artwork design. It is a #1 New York Times bestseller. As you can see, this girl is levitating off of the ground and she seems to be in a woods area, somewhere deserted. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Fantastic book. Now, this book, once again, I'm going to keep saying it, so I may sound a little bit repetitive, but every one of these books that I'm going to present to you are fantastic, at least by my standards. I love books with a little bit of horror and a little bit of mystery, thrillers, horrors, that type of thing. But this book is a trilogy, the All Souls trilogy. And I've only read this one, but the first one was absolutely fantastic. I personally thought this was a little bit more of a trickier read for me to start, get going with this book. It seemed to me to have a little bit of a slow start, but it was completely worth sticking with it in the end. It is pretty much like the title says, a discovery of witches subtle, but they're fantastic. The little things count. Now this is about a 600-page book. Like I said, a little bit hefty, but absolutely worth it by my standards. Alright, let me read this to you. Deep in the heart of Oxford's Bodleian Library, scholar Diana Bishop requests a manuscript called Ashmole 782. In the course of her research, coming from an old and distinguished lineage of witches, Diana senses that the ancient book might be bound up with magic. But she herself wants nothing to do with sorcery. And after making a few notes on its curious images, she banishes it quickly back to the stacks. But what she does not know is that the old alchemical text has been lost for centuries, and its sudden appearance has set a fantastical underworld stirring. Soon, a distracting horde of demons, witches, and vampires descend upon the Bodleians' reading rooms. I'm sorry if I've been pronouncing that wrong. Bodleians, I believe. One of these creatures is Matthew Claremont, an enigmatic and eminent genetist and practitioner of yoga and wine connoisseur, and also a vampire with a keen interest in Ashmole 782. Equal parts history and magic, romance and suspense, a discovery of witches is a novel of epic scope. Traveling from cobbled streets of Oxford and mountains of the Auvergne to a small town in upstate New York. It also takes us into a rich 1500-year history that spans Clovis and the Crusades, the Knights Templar, and the American Revolution. As Matthew and Diana's alliance deepens into intimacy, Diana must come to terms with age-old taboos in her own family's conflicted history. She must learn where the modern woman she is meets the source of ancient power that is her legacy. With a scholar's depth and the touch of a great storyteller, Deborah Harkness has woven a table of passion and obsession, the collision of magic, alchemy, and science, and the closely guarded secrets of an enchanted world. I absolutely recommend this book. This book is just fantastic. I love it. It's another one of those page turners, and if you love science fiction, I guess that's what it would be, science fiction / horror, this is the type of book for you. Now, our final book for today is going to be Food by Jim Gaffigan. I love comedy too. Comedy is just it's what keeps me going, and this book is absolutely hilarious. I personally, I love food. I mean, who doesn't? But this book is just, oh, it is so funny. It has had me rolling on the ground at certain points. Jim Gaffigan is just a hilarious comedian. He is so funny. The way just a superb writer, and if you've ever seen any of his stand-up, which I absolutely recommend, it is just so funny. His stand-up is just, it is so funny. Now, another thing goes back to the illustrations. His illustrations in this book are just fantastic. I mean, they are so good. And they're personal too, and I like that. It gives you more of a connection with the author. I mean, and it makes it more funny too. It gives you that connection, and it gives you that little bit of humor, that comedic aspect. But absolutely, I mean, this book is just fantastic. I absolutely recommend this. This is actually one of my favorite books, one of my most favorite books, because it is so funny. Let's read the summary. Have you ever finished a meal that tasted horrible but not noticed until the last bite? Eaten in your car so you wouldn't have to share with your children? Gotten hungry while watching a dog food commercial? Does his presence of green vegetables make you angry? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are pretty pathetic. But you're not alone. Feast along with America's favorite food comedian, best-selling author, and male supermodel Jim Gaffigan as he digs into his specialty of stuffing his face. Food, a Love Story is an in-depth, thoroughly uninformed look at everything from health food to things that people actually enjoy eating. In his much-anticipated follow-up to the New York Times bestseller, Dad is Fat, Jim Gaffigan reveals his most intimate food memories, opinions, and fantasies that will keep you laughing all the way to the refrigerator. Don't take our word for it. Read these glowing commentaries. Oh, you're having another one, Jim's wife, Janine. Why can't I have a bite, Jim's children? Help, Jim's colon. Excuse me, those are my French fries. A stranger Jim sat next to in the airport. Who is Jim Gaffa? What? Michael Pollan, author of a bunch of books about food that Jim plans to read. This book is just, so funny. I love this book. So I would absolutely recommend this. I love this illustration. This is just, this is a pretty funny picture, personally. I did not get to read Dad is Fat, but I hope to, because I am sure that is funny. So unfortunately, that is all for today for this video, but I will have another video uploaded within the next week. Please feel free to leave comments and suggestions, especially about a video if you want me to do something